For as long as software has been a thing, it's been this human art form, developers meticulously crafting every single line. But what happens when that craft, that art, smashes into the raw power of an automated factory? Well, that's the revolution AI is kicking off in the world of code, like right now.
And look, this isn't about replacing developers. Not at all. It's about elevating them. Think of it like AI is becoming your new co-pilot, the one who handles all the boring, tedious stuff, so you, the human, can focus on the big, creative, problem-solving challenges. Okay, so let's really dive into this. For decades, writing software has been a totally manual craft. But now that's all changing, and it's changing in a really fundamental way. So what actually happens when your co-pilot is a machine? How does that change the day-to-day job of building, our entire digital world?
All right, so first things first, let's define what this partnership actually looks like. What are we really talking about when we say AI is helping us write code?
Yeah, you really should think of it less like a simple tool and more like a superpower. Seriously, AI is becoming this kind of invisible layer that just amps up a developer's abilities at every single stage of the game, from the first napkin sketch of an idea all the way to polishing that final product.
And this really breaks down into three main superpowers. First up, you've got code generation. AI can spit out entire chunks of working code just from a simple English prompt. Then there's intelligent code completion. This thing actually understands your intent, not just the keywords you're typing. And third, and this is a big one, it automates the super important but, let's be honest, often mind-numbing work of testing and debugging.
And all of this has led to this totally wild new concept called vibe coding. Just imagine telling your AI, hey, I need an app that feels like a cozy coffee shop on a rainy day, and it just does it. It builds it. We are genuinely moving toward a future where the most important skill isn't typing out code, but being able to clearly articulate a vision.
Okay, but it gets even bigger than that. These AI powers aren't just stuck on a single developer's laptop. Nope, they're being wired into the very heart of the entire software assembly line. How stuff gets built and shipped on a massive industrial scale.
I want you to picture an assembly line, but an intelligent one. Before a developer even hits submit, AI learners are already checking the code. While it's building, AI is scaffolding out new parts. Code changes? Bam! AI writes the tests. And when it's all said and done, AI bots go and update the documentation. It's just complete automation at every single step. So, for a software team, the impact here is huge. It's like going from a dusty old workshop to a gleaming, fully automated factory. All of a sudden, quality control is automatic. Your development speed just skyrockets, and maybe best of all, you get this tireless AI inspector that checks every single line of code for flaws, a level of detail that, frankly, is almost impossible for a human team to keep up with.
And you gotta understand, this isn't just about going faster. It's about building a system that's fundamentally smarter, way more reliable, and in some cases, almost self-healing. It is a massive shift in how we even think about creating software.
Okay, so this automated factory, it sounds pretty incredible, right? A perfect system just churning out flawless software. But there's a ghost in this shiny new machine. Because with all of this speed, all of this automation, comes a hidden and honestly a really serious problem. And it's a crisis of trust.
And this is the million-dollar question. Think about it. If an AI writes your code, and then the same AI writes the tests to check that code, well, you've just created a perfect little echo chamber, haven't you? Who or what is actually checking the AI's work?
So to really get a handle on this risk, let's look at a real-world experiment. A team asked one of these Gen AI assistants to write a whole suite of tests for a piece of code. And at first glance, the results looked great. They got about 85% code coverage. That sounds pretty good, right? Like a solid B+ on a test?
Yeah, not even close. When they dug a little deeper, they found something pretty alarming. The mutation kill rate was a measly 57%. So in plain English, what does that mean? It means that even though the AI's tests ran through most of the code, they were totally blind to almost half of the bugs that were planted in there on purpose. The AI was just going through the motions. It wasn't actually thinking critically about what it was testing.
Now, the technique they use to uncover this is called mutation testing. And you can think of it as basically the immune system for your code's quality. It's like having an automated saboteur that goes in and makes tiny little malicious changes to your code. These are the mutants. And then it checks to see if your tests are smart enough to catch them. If a mutant survives, well, that means you've got a serious hole in your safety net. It really is the ultimate test for your tests.
So, okay, we've got a problem. AI-generated tests can give us this false sense of security. But the answer isn't to just throw out the AI. No, the solution is to get a whole lot smarter about how we check its work.
And that experiment has showed some really clear patterns where the AI was failing. See, AI tests are pretty good at checking the final answer. Did the function return the number 5? Check. But they are terrible at checking the process. Did it actually talk to the database to get that 5? They also tend to ignore other important stuff, like log messages. And maybe most importantly, they're just not good at thinking like an adversary, testing for weird inputs like null values or missing data that any slightly paranoid human developer would check for instantly.
But here's the good news. A whole new generation of tools is popping up to solve exactly this problem. You can basically think of them in 4 main flavors. First, you've got the agentic automated tools. They're like robot scribes, writing solid, predictable test code for you. Then you've got agentic manual testers. These are more like robot detectives, actively exploring your app like a real person would. Of course, you've got your IDE copilots, your trusty sidekicks that help you write tests right inside your code editor. And finally, you have session recorders, which are like spy cameras, watching what real users do and turning those actions into a repeatable test.
And this all leads to a really fundamental choice for development teams. Do you want your tests to be deterministic, like a railroad track, rigid, predictable, you know exactly where it's going every single time? Or do you want them to be adaptive, more like a river, flexible, able to find new paths, but maybe a little less predictable? That's the core dilemma that teams are facing in this new world.
So this all points to a new and I think really powerful workflow. Here's how it goes. Step 1. You let the AI do the heavy lifting, generating the first draft of all your tests. Step 2. You unleash the mutation testing on it to get back a clear, actionable to-do list of all the weak spots. And then Step 3. The human developer steps in, not as a coder, but as an art director, using that report to give the AI super-specific prompts to patch up all the holes.
What this creates in practice is a really cool, virtuous cycle. You generate with the AI, you validate with automated tools like mutation testing, and then the human provides the high-level strategic guidance to perfect the result. The developer's role is genuinely shifting from being a typist to being a director.
So where is all of this going? Let's zoom back out for a second and revisit that idea we talked about earlier, vibe coding. Now, this idea is, let's just say it's both exciting and pretty controversial. On one side, you have advocates who say it's going to democratize software development, letting anyone with a great idea actually build it. But on the other side, you have critics who are raising some very serious red flags about accountability. I mean, if no one really understands the code under the hood, who's on the hook when it breaks, gets hacked, or just becomes a maintenance nightmare?
But, regardless of where you stand in that debate, the potential here is just undeniable. As AMD CEO Lisa Su said, this isn't just about changing one little workflow. This is a massive opportunity to completely redefine what productivity and performance even mean across every single industry that touches software.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. As AI takes over more and more of the actual typing, the manual work of writing code, what does the developer of the future even look like? Are they still a writer? Are they more of a reviewer or a master prompter? Or are we watching the birth of an entirely new role, one we don't even have a name for yet? That's the big question we all need to start thinking about, and thinking about now.